Today we're going to be working with fraction and decimals. Alright, we're going to be writing fractions as decimals. This one, it calls it a terminating decimal. That just means that it will have an end to it. Eventually it will end. Alright, you are to keep going until you find that end. Alright? So what we do to convert a fraction to a decimal, we use division because a fraction is a division problem. So I just do 7 divided by 8, which 8 does not go into 7. 8, however, does go into 70. How many times? 8. Okay, so we subtract 64 from 70. Hey, how many times does 8 go into 60? 7. How many times does 8 go into 40? 5. Okay, which gets rid of it. So there's my answer, 0.875. Any questions on how to do that? Right? That's a terminating decimal. So they'll give you this. Convert these to decimals. You got 4/5 and you have negative 3/16. There's 2 of them. Okay. 4/5, we do 4 divided by 5. Okay. 5 does not go into 4. It goes into 40 though. 8 times. Okay. We're left with 0. There's my answer. 4/5 is equal to 0.8 as a decimal. Negative 3/16. I know my answer has to be negative. Hey, I just do 3 divided by 16. Okay. Does 16 go into 3?
No.
How many times 16 go into 30?
1.
How many times 16 go into 140? Okay, if you don't know, okay, can it be 10? No, okay, it's got to be single digits, right? So what I would do is maybe go 9 or 8, okay? Just do 16 times 8 and see where you stand. If it's above that, then go lower. If it's too low, go higher. 8 times 6 is
128.
48, right?
148.
Okay, it's 128. Okay. Is this too low or is this the right number?
It's the right number.
It's the right number. If I had 16 of that, I would go over 140. So 8's my right number. 140 minus 128 is...
12.
Okay, yeah, 12. I don't know why I wrote that. It's 12. So when we drop down to 0, how many times does 16 go into 120?
7.
Okay, well, we had 128 for 8, so drop down 1, so go 7. Okay, so what's 16 times 7? 112. Take 16 from 128. Okay, 112. That leaves us with 80. How many times does 16 go to 80? Well, here's what I look at. Okay, 16 times the number gives me 80, gives me a 0. What times 6 would give me a 0? 5. So I do 16 times 5 and check. What's 16 times 5? What's 6 times 5? 30. 8 plus 5 is, or 3 plus 5 is 8. So there's my answer. Okay, subtract those. It is. So my answer is negative 0.1875. Any questions? Alright, write this down. Alright, so this is what we call repeating decimals. Repeating decimals are when it has no ending to it. It continues repeating in a pattern. It can either be one number repeating, two number repeating. Okay, it could be any numbers repeating as long as you see the pattern. Okay? Which it usually is pretty obvious. We have 5 over 12, so I just do 5 divided by 12. 12 does not go into 5, but it goes into 50 4 times. 12 goes into 20 1 time. Goes into 80 6 times. Goes into 80 6 times. And then 6 times and 6 times. Everybody see your pattern here? Okay. It continues on, doesn't it? Okay. So here's how we write it. 0.416 with a line over what's repeating. So there's my answer. All right, let's do negative 2 divided or over 11. My answer has to be negative, and then you just work it out. Does 11 go into 2? No. How many times does 11 go into 20? How much is left over? 20 minus 11 is 9. How many times does 11 go into 90? 8. 88. Which leaves us with what? 2. How many times does 11 go into 2? 1. Well, how much is left over? 9. Drop 0. How many times does 11 go into 90? 8. Everybody see a pattern? So my answer here is negative, don't forget negative, 0.18 repeating, because that's what's repeating. Okay? It could be 3, it could be 4. Okay? It could be even 5 or 6. But in this case, it's only 2 numbers repeating. So negative 0.18 repeating. Any questions? All right. You write this down. This is a comparison. You're going to use inequalities to compare these. You have 1/4 compared to 0.2. How do we compare these? What do we need to do? Someone raise their hand. Tell me. Kyle. Turn them in decimals. That's what we've been doing. So what is 1/4 as a decimal? Okay, if you know that's a quarter. A quarter is worth 25 cents. Okay, so which one's bigger, a quarter or 0.2? Quarter. So there's my answer. Greater than. Any questions? All right, here's your assignment.